the Urban Apologetics Podcast.
Yes, start from the top.
Oh my gosh.
From the top. It's your fault last time.
No, it wasn't.
Come on, bro.
All right. Welcome to the Urban Apologetics Podcast.
No doubt. Happy New Year's, y'all.
Happy New Year's indeed. It's 2019. Hopefully everybody is going to follow through with all their resolutions and goals.
Oh, you broke mine.
What was your goal?
My goal was not to have a goal.
Oh, so now you got a goal?
Yes.
Oh, dang. My brain hurt. I'm your host, one of the hosts. I'm Christian, and I'm here with my brother man.
Muhammad Tanzamore.
Yes.
Of urbanapologetics.org.
Yes, in the flesh. So we're here. We in the Urban Apologetics layer doing this podcast. As you already heard, the website was launched for pre-registration for the online courses at urbanapologetics.org. Mm-hmm. So there's still time to go get registered for that.
Register, please.
So yeah, we starting this podcast. This is the first one. So what you thinking, man? You excited about this? You super nervous.
Come on, bro.
You nervous? I can tell.
I do this with my eyes closed, man.
Okay, well open them.
Let's do this.
This
right
ain't bird box.
Happen.
Open them eyes,
to
brother.
The glory of Christ, bro.
All right, well, let's make
this
it
happen.
So we're gonna get into some things and just talk about who we are and what we're trying to do with this podcast, with the website, just to kind of give you some context of what's going on here. So who are you, Mr. Tanzamore? Who are you?
I'm the founder of urbanapologetics.org. And one thing we want to do with this podcast is just make it an extra resource for the website. So right now we have the blog, we have our first online course, and now we want to have a consistent podcast where we can give extra information.
Wait, we got the first online course?
Bro, you didn't even sign up yet, man. If you don't stop playing and go...
I registered.
How you on the team?
I'm registered, everybody.
Lies.
But we got a course already?
There's a commandment for that, right?
Prove it. No, but really, the course is up already?
The first course is online. It's called Black Mysticism Revealed. It's a real dope course. It's going to be at least like 4 hours of video. It's going to be some PDFs, audio. It's going to be, when I tell you that, it's going to be so much in-depth information, walking you through what exactly is Black mysticism, the different groups, their doctrines, their texts, what they believe, and specifically, how to engage them. So, and I'll be coming from, a very unique standpoint as somebody that was not just a student inside those organizations, but also as a leader within inside of them. So it's going to be a dope course, and pre-register, you get that $50 off right now, not once you register. So pre-register, get that $50 off, and it's going to be a good thing.
Okay. So I'm just curious, because you said you was a leader in some of these camps, these groups.
Yes.
You want to elaborate? What you mean?
Meaning like if you go into, for instance, the Nawapian Nation of Moors, or whatever title they chose to go by in the timeline. I was actually an official bookstore owner for over 2 years for Philadelphia. So when it came to the whole Philadelphia camp, I was the one that was in charge of Philadelphia. When it came to the New York as well as Philadelphia to get initiated into the Masonic Lodge, I was the one that actually vouched for over 100-something dudes just to get them initiated into the Masonic Lodge. Because one thing you got to know is that in order to be a Mason, you have to be vouched for by another Mason. So I was the one that actually vouched for, God knows how many brothers from Philly and New York, including Brother Polite, who's all over YouTube right now.
That's big.
Also, if you're familiar with Elder Ricard, I was one of the people that used to build with him and teach with him before, he had any kind of platform. He had just left 125th with the Hebrew Israelites up there, and we used to build actually in Philadelphia. And my cousin Aban was actually one of his first disciples. And just in general, with inside the community, I've always dealt with people that was leaders inside the community. I knew Saneto. I actually did a video with Hebrew Israelites. Nuwapians versus Hebrew Israelites with Saneto. Before it was Saneto TV, it was called Conscious something DVDs that they used to have out there. House of Consciousness, that's what it's called. The House of Consciousness DVD. So those I was familiar with the.
They was like battle rap DVDs.
Yeah. No, it was like DVDs that the conscious community put out, engage in different subjects, and that's what Sinetter's platform was before Sinetter TV.
Okay. So you was in the musics.
Yeah.
So the Lord gripped your life up, man.
Definitely.
Gave your life to Jesus, and now you on your Paul ministry, to where you turned all the way around, and going back to these areas to try to show people the real truth.
Yeah, because it's very convincing, and I'll be a liar to tell you that it's not convincing. You know, when you look at some of the things they have to say, when you look at some of the attitudes that they're going against, as far as inside the communities and white supremacy, you will see that there's something there that's attractive. Especially when you're a black person, you have no real sense of identity, or it's a false identity. You know, it's very attractive, and it makes you want to be a part of those different groups.
Okay. Well, dope, bro. I'm glad that your life has been changed. For y'all who don't know, my name is Christian. Honestly, I don't even know how I'm in the mix with this. Muhammad, we connected at our church. We go to Epiphany Fellowship in North Philly. Lead pastor Eric Mason, under his pastoral leadership. And we was doing a project called Story Changers. I was the guy who does majority of the video production. So I met up with Muhammad, filmed his testimony, and we kind of built a relationship from there. And I've always been a person who's been curious of mystic things and different occult groups, and understanding why people believe what they believe, or why they disbelieve different things, or what the issue was. I didn't understand what some of the issues or barriers that people have with Christianity. So I just was always a curious guy. So me being a part of this urban apologetics movement with Muhammad was just perfect. So I'm just excited to be on board, and being able to just help other people and be educated myself, even as we just kind of walk through some things. So, but yeah, so I see we got the website, urbanapologetics.org, and in one of the sections on the site, we talk about how we want to help people get educated on some of the things that we created as a framework, and we call it the 3Ds, the 3D framework of the urban apologetics. And the goal of it is to give clarity, give you the ability to help you evangelize for our particular communities. So those 3Ds essentially stand for defend your faith, discover missiology, and denounce white supremacy.
Yeah, no doubt. See, one of my main things was when I came to Christ, a lot of it had to do with apologetics. So apologetics was my means of conversion initially, with the Holy Spirit also banging on my heart saying, you can't do this by yourself. And once I realized...
what is that? What's apologetics?
Apologetics is knowing how to defend your faith, knowing how to give somebody a reason for the hope that is in you, who in our case is Yeshua, Jesus Christ. And just telling people how to properly defend their faith. I know a lot of times coming up, just as a child, even to adulthood, it was like I would ask people questions, and I would get statements like, oh, you just got to have faith. You just have to believe. And I was like, but that didn't answer the question.
Right.
I understand what faith is. Muslims have faith. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Buddhists have faith. Hebrews have faith.
Atheists have
faith. So like a lot of people have faith. So you just telling me I just had to believe or just have faith, that wasn't supplying me with an answer. So I saw there was a lot of Christians, unfortunately, that either was Christian by name or they were Christians in heart, but they hardly ever touched their book besides Sunday. So they couldn't supply people with answers. So I wanted to be able to supply those answers to somebody that was in the same situation that I was in order to bring them to Yeshua, Jesus Christ.
Okay. Dope. So yeah, so I guess you want to talk about these 3Ds?
Yeah, so basically when I talk about like the 3D framework, like I had to sit back and analyze like why a lot of people in the conscious community are not getting themselves involved with the church, don't want to have anything to do with Christianity, and what's keeping them away from Christ. And basically what it boiled down to was like three major things that you had just read about. So, I mean, think about it like this. When I'm talking about a 3D framework, you have to look at the community, okay? Most people, when they go into the urban community, they look at the basic sin, the basic poverty that's going on. That's the picture that they see. To them, these are the things that they are the only things that they have to wrestle around in order to effectively communicate the gospel with people. But that's not, especially when you're dealing with those of African descent inside, the urban city. For instance, if you look at a lot of the different leaders, both past and present, inside the black communities, you will see that 9 times out of 10, most of them had nothing to do with any spiritual epiphany of enlightenment. It had to do with them fighting oppression, racial injustice. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Those was the motivating factors behind it. So defending your faith, which is the first one, is based upon 1 Peter 3:15, which we just talked about, giving a reason for the hope that is in you. And just knowing how to defend your faith, with the basic knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and being able to give somebody something scripturally based instead of just turning them around and saying, just have faith or just believe. So that's the first aspect. You definitely got to know how to defend your faith.
So it's not enough to just say, oh, well, I was born in a Christian household.
Nah, it's definitely not enough saying you're born in a Christian household.
My grandma prayed for me. Ain't enough?
Nah, it's definitely not enough, bro, because, that may be good for you personally, but it's not a good evangelistic tool when you're actually out there trying to communicate what the gospel is and supply answers to people. The second one I talked about was called Discover Missiology. Now, missiology is something that's very rarely even talked about right now in the church. And basically, missiology deals with, where it's mostly deal with like on a mission field, like in other foreign countries. Of they want to see like where the church hasn't been doing effective evangelism, what they could be doing better, and so forth. So with inside the black community, I definitely wanted the people to see the church's lack of action or the improper handling of the truth and the hypocrisy that has kept a lot of people away from the church and from Christ.
Okay.
And so a lot of the times that's a very big factor, is that they didn't see the church stepping in on certain areas. They didn't, they saw the church not taking up the forefront on different areas of oppression and white supremacy. Not just saying that this was the church blanketly throughout the years, because the more you study, the more you see that the church was handling a lot of these things. But especially as of recently, you haven't seen this shown a lot with the church. So it's to address those issues as well.
All right.
And then the third one we get into is denouncing white supremacy. A lot of the times when you see, like I was saying earlier, is that white supremacy has to be addressed. That's one of the main elements of why the conscious community is even where they're at, is because they call themselves becoming conscious of who they are, but conscious of their surroundings, conscious of the government activities, conscious of who the white man is. And for us to be effective in our evangelism, we also have to know how to denounce white supremacy, and not just white supremacy that we see out in the government or out in the streets, but the white supremacy that's inside of our own church. A lot of Christians want to act like everything is a kumbaya ministry all the time, and it's not. A lot of history has been whitewashed.
What is white supremacy? What is that?
I mean, white supremacy is basically dealing with white people and their way of thinking and doctrine and behavior as being superior to everybody else. And this happens in the church as well. Okay. No, I'll give you an idea. Like, look, what is the Reformation? If you ask most people what the Reformation is, I get a lot of people that said, they believe in Reformed theology. Now, I'm not here to debate what Reformed theology is, but when you're talking about Reformed theology, you're talking about a reference point to most people. You get what I'm saying?
That certain time period.
Certain time period, that early 1600s. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about John Calvin. That's what they're talking about when they're saying Reformed theology. But guess what? There was Africans reforming Christianity way before the so-called Reformation that they talked about. That's why I always call it the English Protestant Reformation. That's what you're talking about. The English Protestant Reformation, a European Reformation, has nothing to do with the different reformations that happened around the world, specifically reformations that was happening in Africa at the foundations of Christianity. A lot of people got this thing that it was Europeans that brought Christianity into Africa. It was actually vice versa. Mm-hmm. It was Africans that brought Christianity to Europe and the world about. Mm-hmm. So, it's to gain clarity on, these different issues. And I believe, like, once you are able to see these three things, then you have a better engagement point with dealing with these different groups and religions out there. And you also have a point of saying yes. Because a lot of times when I deal with people that's out there in the streets and they're trying to evangelize and they come into different people or groups, they have a hard time saying yes as a Christian. They're so big-headed. They're so, or not knowing about what their religion or history of their religion has done, that when somebody gives them a rebuttal, it's always, no, you have it wrong. When actually it's no, yes, you have it right, but it's a little distorted. Mm-hmm. Let me give you some clarity. Yes, the church is not perfect. As soon as we start painting this picture of a perfect church, what's the point of Christ?
That's a humbling thing when you do that. Like, as a Christian, when you admit some of the wrongs that are true about just history and people who walked around professing Jesus and some of the atrocities that were committed in quote unquote in his name. It's good to not run from the reality of what happened, but actually address it and talk about how that actually contradicts how Jesus moved while he was down here. Like, that goes against his standpoint and how he wanted to engage with people. So the fact that you're saying it's important for us to acknowledge some of the things that people mention in with history, that's good to not ignore that.
Right.
It's funny, man. I got a lot of people who would, if they were to hear us had this conversation right now, and this time I'm talking about black people. Mm-hmm. I could point out friends who would say, yo, you're missing it by focusing on black and white things, and you need to just preach the gospel. Mm-hmm. Like, just preach the gospel and stop focusing on color and we're all the same, da-da-da. What's your, in relation to the whole denouncing the white supremacy piece?
I'm going to keep it 100, man. A lot of our people is whitewashed mentally. Mm-hmm. To them, if it's not right unless it's white. Simple and plain. If it's not coming from the lips of a white person to validate the information, then it's not right at all. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's why sometimes I even have a problem with people. I'm not going to get into the theological debates about Hebrew Israelites, but I have a problem with people that attack Hebrew Israelites just on the strength of culture. Okay? The original Hebrews was of African descent. It don't take a rocket scientist to study that. If you and your sole rebuttal against the Hebrew Israelites is that they can't be the original people, then you've already lost them. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Do you spend as much time denouncing European ancestry as being not the true original Hebrews of the Old Testament? No, they don't. Most of these churches, especially dispensational churches, they have Jews by Jesus groups within inside their churches. So my problem is with doctrine with them.
Mm-hmm.
My problem, not with all of them, some of them,
Who you talking
but
about?
most of them
You say
is
them.
just Hebrew Israelites.
Okay, yeah.
My problem with most Hebrew Israelites is doctrine, not the cultural representation. To me, if that's what they want to believe, if you want to be, if you see or know, or however you feel about you culturally being attached to the Hebraic culture, then, Godspeed. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's fine. As long as it's in line with the gospel, I'm fine with that. I have no problem if you want to worship the Lord through your ability to keep the law, as long as you know that you're not saved by the law.
Facts.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's by faith alone and grace alone. Period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There is nothing that we can do that gains us any kind of
Merit.
or high fives, extra credibility to be saved.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I will say yes to the fact that, yes, I do believe that Hebrews were African descent, or black people, however you want to define it. I'm not going to get into the naming debate, but yes, I would acknowledge that. That gives me the ability now to sit down and have a greater dialogue with not just Christians, but with Hebrew Israelites that have an affinity towards culture, and now we can break bread on what the gospel is. A lot of people I bumped into as Christians. I remember a Christian woman telling me that she would never touch the Quran because she would become demon possessed. You get what I'm saying?
Probably like physically touching the book.
Right. Let alone read it, she said. She didn't want to have any doctrines of demons coming at her. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, for one, if you in Christ, we not worrying about some exterior doctrines of demons.
Greater is he that is in me.
Taking over us, for one, mm-hmm. if you in Christ. Two, it's just like if you had a child and your child was listening or wanted a CD or MP3. You're not just going to give the child that CD or MP3. You're going to check that artist out. See what kind of songs that artist, talks about. Check out that artist's YouTube videos. You get what I'm saying? See if it's a parental advisory sticker on the CD. Then we can make a decision from there on if we should even allow our child to listen to that CD. How much more if you truly your brother keeper, right? Would you want to know the information that your brother is into in order to effectively defend not only your faith, but show them the defects mm-hmm. in the worldview of that religious text that they're dealing with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't grow up being taught that at all. At least I was brought up, stay away, abstain, mm-hmm. And I got dudes in the barbershop who joke around when certain people leave, and they'll say, "Salam alaikum," and then certain people who are Christians who's leaving the barbershop, they'll feel offended, because all they know is, oh, that's a different belief. I don't want you casting nothing on me. When in all honesty, it's really just they're just saying something in Arabic.
Exactly.
Peace be unto you. So I think it's good to understand context of, who, if you're engaging somebody in a conversation, it's good to understand context and not just walk around with pre-assumptions, so that way you can, like you said, effectively engage the person and kind of know exactly where to meet them where they are. So,
personally, I greet every Muslim with Assalamu alaikum.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what they recognize as a greeting.
Oh, man.
If you join the military and you go to an Arabic-speaking country, that's one of the first things that they teach you. In order for you to be effective in this community, there's certain words and terminologies that you need to know, that greeting being one of them. If you want the local people to serve you food, learn how to say Assalamu alaikum. If you want to go buy something from the local store, mm-hmm. learn how to say Assalamu alaikum, because all you're saying is, peace be upon you. The same thing that Yeshua, Jesus, said in the scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
Same exact thing. Just different dialect.
Can't be afraid of language.
Can't be afraid of language at all. And a lot of times it's dumb things like language that separates us from engaging different groups or having the compassion in our heart to sit down and truly see what they're about. Mm-hmm. And one thing with apologetics too is that, I really wanted to take apologetics out of the realm of the academic elite. Because a lot of times the picture that I saw, especially black Christians inside the community, was like a very emotional Christianity. And I was just like, wow, like everybody falling over the floor and, you know, jumping around and this, that, and the third, like, you know, but nobody got no answers. And then when I first learned about apologetics, it was like this big elite type situation. It was like, okay, this person's up in this scholarly rank, doctor such and such, and you know, in order to become an apologetic, you got to go into this university, and you have to have this kind of degree from seminary, and you have to be like this, like that, and you have to learn this language and do this, that, and the third. And I was just like,
whose voice is that you doing?
I don't know whose voice I'm doing. I'm doing somebody's voice right now.
I got somebody's name in my head, but I ain't gonna say the name. I got somebody.
But I really wanted to take apologetics and break it down, you know,
Yeah.
for the simple, you know, and let people know to properly, you know, defend your faith. You know, you don't have to be a seminary student. You don't have to be a pastor. You don't have to be somebody walking around with a doctorate degree. And everybody has their own levels. And at the end of the day, it's the Holy Spirit
Facts.
that's, you know, in you that gives you the ability to do what you do, as long as you are taking the intentional steps to study to show thyself approved. But me personally, you know, I've been through a lot, bro. Like before the age of 25, I read over 3,000 books. That was a goal. I remember specifically sitting down with the woman I was dealing with at the time, and I had so many books I didn't even have a bookshelf, and just going through every area of the floor, counting every single book that I had read, and it was like by 25, it was like over 3,000. So guess what? I know seminary students ain't very close to that. So just because you got a degree, bro, don't mean that you know more. It just means, for one, you got a certificate by them.
Listen, I know that firsthand. I'm a barber, so it's a lot of barbers who are unlicensed, who I've seen do better work than barbers who have licenses.
Right.
So the certificate or the paperwork doesn't really prove anything.
Right.
Honestly.
Especially not in the biblical text. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't encourage education. I do.
Yeah.
But that's not a prerequisite for being a defender of the faith.
Absolutely.
I would sit down with some of y'all brothers, bro, that got what kind of degrees, and we can chop it up and we can build.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, it's good to know. So you essentially want to remind people of our involvement, or I'll say the African involvement of Christianity, and let people know that this is not a white man's religion.
Right.
Like most people make that connection. They think of Christianity, they think of
right, and
a
a
white
lot
man's
of us
belief.
are scared too. It's like you know, we gain so many different connections in life, societal connections. I seen brothers, man, that they talk black, you know, in a sense of cultural and identity, but yet when they get around their white friends, it's like, hey, Mikey, you know, did you see the game? Game was great. And I'm just like, yo, Assalamu alaikum, what's good with you, fam? Like, hey, Mohammed, how you doing?
That's 'cause
I'm
you
saying to myself, like, that's
'cause-
not how we was talking.
That's because you try and cause trouble.
Nah, I'm just, listen.
You try to ruffle feathers.
To me, when you're truly transparent in Christ, bro, it doesn't matter who you dealing with.
Yeah.
I can sit down with you. I can sit down with one of my white brothers, and guess what? You and my white brother gonna be like, oh no, here you go again. He about to tell y'all the whole black history, the whole situation. They know that.
Yeah.
My white brothers know that. They know that's who I am, but they know I love them just the same as I love you.
Facts.
But they know I'm not turning a blind eye to any foolishness of white supremacy that I see.
Yeah.
They know that I will address it.
Yeah. Now, I will say, if you choose to speak if you have good grammar in certain settings, I don't look at that as you compromising your like.
I'm not saying don't
right.
have good grammar, because I'm sure my grammar is all kind of jacked up.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is,
because even that's a form of white supremacy in my mind.
don't switch it up just because you're around a certain group of people.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Be who you are as you are.
But like, all right. So if you're at work, like the way I chill with my friends versus if I work in a corporate America job, you gotta have some sort of limits on that.
Oh, yeah,
you can't.
true. But you don't
That's
have a
what I'm
whole
saying.
different. But you don't have a whole different, you know, 360 identity either.
I mean, but you might laugh at
You
jokes
gotta
that you
tune
think
it
don't
up.
think
You
it's
gotta,
funny.
you know, you gotta tune things up
You
a little
definitely
bit.
gotta
come a
polish it
little
up,
more,
bro.
Polish it up. Yeah,
You gotta know what arena you stepping in.
You gotta put a little something on them dreads that you
Oh,
got
don't be
coming
coming
in
at
there.
my dreads,
'Cause
dog.
you got them dreads on me, you woke, bro.
Oh, I'm all the way woke. You know what I'm saying? The sheet is off. No pillows. But no, I understand the essence, man. It's good to know that we don't have to be ashamed and think that we have to what is it? What's the word? Appropriate?
Mm-hmm.
Appropriate to a whole different culture to try to be accepted or to be able to like you said, to defend this particular belief that we have in Jesus Christ.
And I'm, me personally, I'm not ashamed of the gospel, and I'm bold for who Christ is on every level. And to me, that boldness and that every level even goes into culturally who I am in Christ. God
Absolutely.
created me as a black melanated individual. Period.
Absolutely.
And everything that comes along with that.
That's an interesting topic. We ain't got time to get into this topic.
Not today.
Well, I had a question about culture and culture being created. Mm-hmm. But that's a whole nother topic, bro.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother topic. We could go on for days about that, man. But we wrapping it up, man. So this essentially just a glimpse of what you guys can expect, what we're going to be getting into.
A lot of topics coming, y'all.
A whole lot of topics. But don't forget, there's a lot of resources out there on the website. There's blogs that are already written. We got the online course that's available. So make sure you check out urbanapologetics.org. Make sure you pre-register for the classes.
Black Mysticism Revealed. That's
Yes.
what it's called, the first one. And we also have some other instructors lined up, too, that's going to be giving online courses as well. And that's going to be real dope once we get these other instructors up there, too. But we're going to have courses coming out, every month is going to be a different course, at least. So definitely pre-register.
Yes. So know, guys, you can be bold, you can stand firm, and know that what you believe in is not this whitewash, Eurocentric belief, but it has a lot of African roots and foundation and starting points. So
you have no shame in being unapologetically Christian and unapologetically black at the same time.
there it is.
There is no contradiction to that. A lot of times, I see people act like it's a contradiction to that, and it's not. And I've heard even people tell me, well, you're teaching separatism. No, I'm not. I'm teaching love of who my people are. Other cultures do it. Unfortunately, when they do it, it's not an issue. Why? Because their love is shown as the majority love of their culture. You get what I'm saying?
Where didn't Pastor E in his book Woke Church?
Mm-hmm.
He had a quote about that. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. You know what I'm talking about?
Which one?
About, let's see here, create fears for African American discipleship and missiology. Essentially, remember he was kind of talking about how it's not that we're looking to separate, like we're all about unity. Let me pull it up instead of me trying to memorize it offhand. Okay, I'll read this part right here.
Okay.
In his book, it says, in chapter 8, it says, and this is the Woke Church book that is, as Christians in this era, we must mutually affirm our unity without seeing the different mission field needs and how those needs are met as divisive. So essentially what I take from that is you got to understand that there's different people groups who have different needs. So because a particular group is looking to target a certain group that's not being reached by the gospel, you can't see that as, they're trying to do what they're accusing us of doing. Like, they're the real racists because look at them. They're just trying to focus on their people and have their movements and have their things. But the goal is for this particular people group, primarily Africans or African Americans, to be reached by the gospel. And there's so many barriers that are in the way that there's a lot of things that most African Americans believe about Christianity that causes them to not want to be a part of that particular movement, which is understandable. So just know that, like you said already, Muhammad, we're not trying to be separatists. We're not trying to be divisive and just have only talk to black people, only love on black people. That's not the focus. The goal is unity, but at the same time, he's calling us to make disciples. So the area that we're particularly targeting is a group that's really not being reached effectively by the gospel in a way to where they can understand it for their context. So,
Yeah, and don't feel like, don't feel shy in loving your people at the same time. Don't feel frowned upon because you want to pump your fist for something that's, dealing with who you are culturally as a person in Christ. And unfortunately, guess what? It's going to be mostly our people that are going to be the first opponents against us. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like, that house Negro syndrome that Malcolm X talked about, or when he talked about when you make a black person a slave, he gave the equivalent to being a dog. He said, you put that chain on a dog, then you tell it what to do or not to do, then you can eventually take that chain off. And guess what? That dog is now going to do and not do whatever you tell it to do because it's been conditioned to do like that.
Facts.
And sometimes you got, our people that's be fighting us. I've heard more rebuttals from our own people than white people in regards to what we're doing with urban apologetics. They come to me like, our master hurt. Our master house on fire. Our master need food. Our master need this. And I'm just looking at them like The Rock, like, bro, if you don't go that away. But, even we look at the, the assassinations that was done on our leaders, they was our people first. Martin Luther King, the first assassination wasn't by a white man. First assassination was a black woman. She stabbed him up. People don't remember that.
Was it a black woman?
It was a black woman.
Stabbed who up? Martin Luther King?
It wasn't successful. See, that's what I'm talking about.
On a hotel balcony?
Nah, way before that. But most people don't. Most people see that as the first assassination, the one we see on the balcony. But that's what was successful. Because it was successful.
You're about to say, yeah,
exactly. So I'm very aware that a lot of people that's going to be against this is going to be my own people. I've already heard and seen the shots and. Seeing people put stuff on different timelines and social media networks, and that's fine. And that's not going to stop, my mission that I have with urban apologetics. And, it's really out of a love for who Yeshua is, Jesus Christ is, and how he works in and through me and through my people as well. Like I said, we can learn so much from everybody. Every single culture on the face of the earth. But don't get upset with me because I love the culture of Christianity as represented through my culture.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be accurate. Like I got kids, so I got 2 young kids, and as we read kids' Bibles and kid literature, it can be frustrating seeing some of the images that are depicted of how these characters look. Abraham, Moses, Jacob, you name it. And it's like, yeah, blonde hair, blue eyes, really? Right. Is that what we're going with? Like, hey, in the Mediterranean, for real? So that's frustrating for me sometimes. And some people might look at that as, it's innocent, or, that's just an attempt for that particular culture to try to appeal to their own culture. But when it's being propagated, like, on a mass level, like, there was a Good Times episode to where, I don't know the young boy name. It was like JJ, the young kid, and his mom.
Little boy name. Yeah.
And they were talking about white Jesus. And it's funny, man, the young boy had a whole lot of he had a whole lot of pushback with his mom. But it's funny, it was just sad seeing the mom. It was Michael?
Michael, yeah. It
was just sad seeing how the mom, for her, she was like, yo, this is what I know. This is how Jesus looks. Like, this is what it is. And it's not like, some people, you'll have those people who argue, well, his skin complexion doesn't matter and how he looks doesn't matter. I get that. Like, on one hand, it does make sense because at the end of the day, like, God is spirit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's what we mainly should be focused on. But I still want accuracy when I look at history. I don't, like, if it doesn't matter, then why are you changing complexion? Why are you changing hair texture? Why are you changing eye color?
It matters. I remember somebody told me when they had a picture of the Watchtower and they had a white Jesus on the front of it. And they said, oh, it doesn't matter what color it is. I said, it mattered for somebody. to make this multi-million-dollar publication
Facts.
day in and day out. For God knows how long the Watchtower has been out of the same white image of Jesus. It matters to somebody.
Yeah.
My daughter, when she was born, she was not allowed any white dolls until she first knew how to play with black dolls and appreciate love of self first. Now she has dolls of multiple different colors. She got black dolls, white dolls, Asian dolls. She got all kind of dolls. You get what I'm saying? And she understands the love of who she is first. She understands the beauty of being a brown, black baby. And she loves it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we definitely were intentional on trying to put more characters in books or in toys that look like them. So that way that they understand that they're valued just as much as anybody else. That they're not lesser than. They shouldn't feel marginalized because they don't have this particular hair texture, or they got too much melanin in their skin. Like, nah, like you're made in the image of God. Like just like the next person made in the image of God. So that is important, man. That we kind of clarify like why we feel the need to clarify. Just history and what was accurate. So, but yeah, so we're gonna wrap this thing on up.
No doubt.
But definitely thank y'all for listening. I think
Appreciate y'all.
I already said registration.
Yeah,
I said that.
Good.
So how do we end this thing?
You started this, now end it, bro.
Hey man, we really appreciate y'all listening. Yeah.
Yeah, you sound like Barry White over there. Yeah.
Yay.
Appreciate y'all. Go to the website. Like I
said
said, I'm saying it again. Pre-register. And it's free registration to become a member on top of that. Yeah. And we just appreciate all the love and support we've been getting.
Yes.
A lot of people have been backing our corner. Definitely supporting us. And,
what can people expect going forward? Like, how often are they going to be able to hear this podcast?
Well, every week we're going to have a different podcast popping. So
once a week?
Yeah, every week you're going to be getting at least something. I may creep in here and grab the mic, you know what I'm saying, every so often and just drop a little jewels.
16 on them?
Nah, not 16, bro.
Oh, wow.
But we may drop a little, some jewels on there, maybe pre-midweek sometimes, and you may get a little extra on 1 week. But at least, once a week we're going to have... definitely have a different podcast. We'll be having different information blogs put up there. And like I said, different courses coming at you soon. And thank y'all for the support. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Grace and peace.
And if you haven't already, go purchase that Woke Church book by Pastor Eric Mason. Great read. It's a great read.
No doubt. Check it out.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Urban Apologetics Podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Show your support by going to urbanapologetics.org and clicking the Support Us link. And become a member of our community by registering for free to get equipped to defend your faith effectively. Grace and peace.